Hello, this is Don,
And this is Gina
and today this is podcast number 118.
with Focused Healthy Family. We are talking about juggling in the sandwich generation, a day in the life.
And we're going to be putting in little excerpts from today, your journey today, which was a very busy day.
Well, today I'm off to take care of quite a few different things. I've got my bag packed with a bunch of notebooks, so I'm heading out the door as I usually do. So here I go, out my lovely house. Should take you on a tour of what I see.
So my journey of juggling job, kids, finding places for my parents to live as I'm in the middle of helping to support them.
And we decided today to be outside because it's so nice out, but you probably maybe hearing some lawn people doing stuff here because we are outside, but that's part of the day. So you started your day out having to go.
I had a meeting at 9:30. So I spent the whole day with my parents yesterday, helping my mom navigate finding memory care for my dad, which we had kind of decided on, but there's steps that need to happen and take place.
Well, you start out with the assessment too, right?
That's right. I went there because first they do a virtual assessment or an in-person, but we did it virtual with the nurse to determine his level of care. And that kind of determines the price for the memory care. I got to meet the nurse who's the director, who I felt meeting her helped me feel more comfortable and confident that this is a good decision.
There you go.
Went down there knowing I'd be spending time talking to my mom about different things. So there was an independent living place that she had looked at. It's part of a continuous care retirement community.
I am outside of Trinity Oaks. It's beautiful. There's this pretty garden on the campus. This is the front entrance.
CCRC. Do you know what that means, Don?
Continuing care retirement facility or
Community. But do you know what that means?
Well, it's goes from everything from independent living all the way up to like memory care. So you have all the assisted living, the skilled nursing, all of that in between.
Yeah, skilled nursing's at one end, independent living's at the other. So there are places these are often buy-in places that you pay a fee, kind of like you're buying a house, and there's monthly fees too for maintenance. And this place has houses they call cottages. They're small homes and 2-bedroom and 1-bedroom apartments, studio, different sizes. And so people sometimes come into them in a house, but there's often waiting lists. Like right now, there's a long waiting list for 2-bedroom apartments and for houses. People wait years. They decide the community they might want to be in, and they go on a waiting list. And so for my parents, this has just come to the realization that the burden on my mom caring for him is affecting her health. It has been. And at this point, we've decided it's going to be better for her. She realized she wanted to be closer to me. Right now, we're almost an hour and a half away from each other. And for my dad to be in a good supportive memory care because he has a wander risk and he needs that environment where it's locked and secure and has more close attention. There is one 10 to 15 minutes from the house. The continuous care place has a waiting list for the memory care, and yet they have an availability for an independent living apartment for my mom, which we had looked at a couple of weeks back. She really liked it, but then wanted to hold off on making decisions. We were hoping to get my dad settled and then let her take time to decide. Does she want to just move to an apartment? Does she want a rental independent living place? Does she just want a senior community?
As we unfortunately don't have the room for her to be able to like move in here or anything
And
like
I don't
that.
think she would want
Yeah,
that.
she's still very independent. So
she likes that she lives in a 55 plus community, and she really likes the social activities and all the things they've been involved in. Yet since the past several years, when she's really been my dad's caregiver and not able to just go to those things without having someone caring for him, she gets little social time. She gets out to book club once a month. exercise classes and things, and
But it
So she-
takes a lot of effort too, to do all that, too, you
Well,
know,
she-
for her, because you have to,
she only has caregivers so many hours a
Yeah.
day. So but she wants that. She wants to have a community where she wants a pool and she does water exercise and she wants exercise classes and the convenience of it all being there. And if her health changes and she needs more level of care, they have assisted living there. You know, they have other levels. So the thing is, there's long waiting lists. And so my mom reached out and said, well, someone else was interested in our only one bedroom that's available.
mosquitoes, sorry,
Um,
there's only one level available.
there's only one apartment available. And my mom wanted the larger one bedroom, which there's a waiting list for. So if she signed on to the one just with the deposit to hold it, then no one else would take it. And then if a two bedroom or a larger one bedroom becomes available before she moves in or afterwards, then she
She
could
can move up.
she can do that. So we had like a big decision to make yesterday, really fast. I was there till 10 PM.
Mhm.
We got my dad to bed around 6 or so, and then we were able to talk. My dad was actually very lucid yesterday.
I think it's when we come, you know, we come around, somebody besides your mom,
Well, the last
unfortunately.
time we went down there, he wasn't, you know, I've been with him when he
Yeah.
hasn't been, it's because of his decline, but. So we had really good time together. We're not bringing this up to my dad yet because we need to have things in place.
Yeah,
I'm gonna sit down and talk to him and that can be a whole nother podcast. So all this happened yesterday. We had to make all these decisions. Things happen fast. We now have, I gave the deposit when she has an application she has to fill out. She has 15 days to fill it out. There has to be the financial information attached with it. And she has to come in to be able to sign. I think she did say we could DocuSign if she couldn't get here. So I get to help my mom coordinate that. And I'm realizing I need to manage things and not overwhelm my mom. I had to tell her last night, set aside the Trinity Oak stuff. We got to do Dad's FL2. And I did actually my mom had some questions about this form, and I got some more information today because they all understand how these things work. So the FL2 is good for just 30 days. So we do need to have my dad moved in within 30 days of that being completed. So it's good we didn't get it filled out yet. So my mom was trying to fill out parts of the form, but the doctor should fill it all out. So I'm realizing I'm going to be the one kind of keeping track so that I can just say, okay, mom, this is the next step. Because just seeing, you know, this is overwhelming. She's 24/7 caregiving for my dad. Yes, she has caregivers coming in for 5 hours, maybe 4 days a week, so that she can go grocery shopping. She can go to exercise class. She can go to book club, which is like that's the extent of her social life right now. And so she can go to her doctor's appointments and her errands. And, you know, my dad's got a neurologist and, you know, different doctors. And she has so much going on right now. And so she gets to go to exercise class maybe a couple times a week if she's lucky, and book club once a month, and grocery shopping. And that's not a lot for a very active person. And so I just feel good that I am able to step in and help them with this process. I leave there at 10 PM, don't get home till about 11:15 last night. I get up this morning, I climb in my hammock because I'm just tired and
she's
it's
like, "Hey, this is-"
early. And then I made myself go walk and got ready to go to the facility, the continuous care place, where I was meeting up with the marketing person at 9:30. And to get a tour of the smaller one bedroom and take pictures for my mom for her to be able to see it, because she lives an hour and a half away. And so she's got to get a caregiver for my dad, and it's a lot on her. Last time she came up and we toured these places, she had torrential rain driving up, and then she had really bad, she had rain driving up and she had really bad rain driving home. And that's a lot when you're 80 and you have some eyesight issues. And so I'm trying to negotiate those tasks as much as I can. So like she gave me the check last night, and then I brought it up. And then that same place I went back to at 11:30, for a job. I've still been commuting into Charlotte, the 35 miles, mostly 4 days a week for quite some time now to work there. And I know there's other jobs in this area, and I finally started seeking it out and realizing, if my dad's going to be up here, I want close work anyhow. I've always wanted that with the kids, because then I could work a couple hours. If there's an emergency, I could be home. I've done that in the past, with the different crises we've been through, I've been able to. And so this facility, that's the continuous care place, is 5 minutes.
Meanwhile, doing many other things. I have to talk with the facility that's the memory care assisted living for my dad. We're getting him set up in. And I can go over there, but they've got the bed for him. And this afternoon, I have an appointment for kind of an interview for myself for PRN work, as needed work, as an occupational therapist, so that right now I'm commuting into Charlotte, which is 35 miles. Usually I can do it in about 50 minutes. I've been doing that 3 to 4 days a week. And I want to be up here. I want to be so that if my dad needs me as he's getting adjusted with his dementia, my mom's going to be far away dealing with the house and other things. And to be here, to be able to go in regularly, to check on him, to get him situated and accustomed.
Well, I wanted to just break in there for a moment, because way back when you were talking about that, you got in the hammock, you rested, you took a walk. The importance of through all this journey of the day is to make sure that you're taking care of yourself.
I had to make myself eat breakfast, because when I'm anxious and got things to do, I don't always have a big appetite. So you had made scrambled eggs. I added an avocado to it. Sometimes when I've got all this going on, I make my smoothie. We talked about that on another podcast. I drink chai tea. I try to do some green tea because it's better for you than black tea. And this is my caffeine boost. And sometimes that helps me. So I'm still drinking on it from all day. Yeah. So, and having a water bottle to take with me, which I didn't do today, and I'm feeling dehydrated.
Yeah.
So, juggling all that, texting with you, because at 10 o'clock, we need to double check that our older daughter is up to go to work. And we told her we would give her one check on. She's responsible for
And
herself.
she's doing pretty good at getting up on her own.
So that's part of our day. It wasn't a therapy day for our other daughter. So these are things I normally do if I'm at home or at work, texting them, reaching out, calling them, coordinating it with you, so-and-so get their medicine. So this stuff is kind of always going on, no
When
matter.
we do the podcast, trying to tie that in. We
Yeah,
tried something different today.
So
great.
we had this great idea. It's if I had a camera person with me and they could have filmed me, it would have looked nice, on my journey. And the snippets are from the adventures I went on, and having all these things in my mind, which is why I'm talking really fast, I know, on those clips.
Yeah.
And
No.
and being in the experience of this, right? I feel it's important to share when you're going through it, because it helps other people be like, okay, I thought, every people have it together, they handle it. Oh, Gina and Don, they got it all together and they're handling stuff. And
Yeah.
what does it really look like? It looks like I wanted to go to meet with the woman for my mom moving in coordinate that with going there for my interview, but couldn't do that because of timing of the people's things they had going on. And then,
Well, like
and so even though it wasn't very far away, I drove there and I came back, and and then I'm trying to make phone calls, and I'm trying to call the person from these are two different communities we're looking at for my parents. So it's, different marketing, different, and I'm talking with her about things. I left her a message, but didn't hear back. Turned out my mom had touched base with her, but I didn't know that. And then I'm trying to talk to my mom. My mom wants to see pictures. And so she's calling me, and I'm leaving messages for her. And then I'm feeling anxious, and I needed to go pick up my contacts came in at the eye doctor. I never got there. I wanted to go to the memory care to give her a check. But by the time she got back to me, it was like 3 o'clock, and she's like, well, you could come over right now. And
Yeah.
And so then she's like, well, or tomorrow. I'm like, well, I'm in Charlotte all day tomorrow at work. And then I looked at Friday and it's like, oh, one more thing to add to my Friday because I have another interview 15 minutes away at 1 p.m. We got an online doctor's appointment at 11 a.m. And I'm not know how long the interview is going to be. And so she's like, I prefer it was 2:30 or 2:45. And I'm like, I guess I'll be back from or we'll have to reschedule or something.
It's been, you know, we've been the most flexible people in the world, I think, because we bend and flex towards, you know, we're like the thing, the waving thing in the, you know,
It feels a lot more like cracking and pulling. I don't feel so loose and flowy a
Yeah.
lot of times. I personally don't mind the flexibility and the juggling and the variety. I'm not the kind of person who likes doing the
No,
same
it-
thing day
well, it
in
would
and
be
day
kind of
out.
boring too. I think if we
Uh-huh.
just we went 8 to 5, went to work and came home and ate, and I don't know. So we don't have that kind of life.
I have dreams of why didn't I become an accountant? I could just sit and look at numbers all day and not
That's it.
worry about people as much, yet I'd be asleep on the
I was
desk.
gonna say you'd be
Right?
bored after,
If I
you know,
sit still too long.
because I mean,
I'd
even when we
sleep.
finish this, I've got to publish this. You're gonna cut grass because you like
Well,
cutting grass, and so
Like people, I
my
like
day never
interacting
kind of.
with people, yet working as a caregiver, being a caregiver to parents, a caregiver to children, sometimes a caregiver for you. How do I, taking care of myself,
Yeah.
which I think I try to do, yet in reality, it's often really on the back burner. Am I truly caring for myself or am I avoiding?
So how do you feel about these last couple of days? What, how did it, how does that, what you've been doing, where you've been going, how does it feel?
It feels like the beginning of a crazy adventure we're about to go on. I anticipate it getting super busy for a while and intense with the different things I'm juggling.
Mhm.
Because I'm looking at interviewing at least 3 different places. I might sign on with at least 2 of them so you have to get trained and oriented in the building, and the computer systems are different and everybody has different policies and procedures, even though my work as an OT is the same wherever I go.
I guess that's what I was kind of looking at, is how you feel about what you're doing for your parents, you know?
Oh, well,
I mean, does it feel rewarding, or does it, I know it's tiring, it's a lot of work.
well, I'm a helper and a caregiver and a giver, and I like helping people and it feels good. What really feels good to me, we don't know how long my dad has. His
Yeah.
dementia has gotten severe. His Parkinson's is where sometimes it's hard for him to get up. Yesterday, he walked a lot. We were talking about all the woodworking things he made, and he walked into the bedroom closet. He's trying to find other pieces of furniture. I am looking forward to knowing I can go visit my dad more often
Mhm.
for shorter periods of time. I can fit it into my day. I can be around because who knows? He
Yeah,
could
well,
have a month here. He could have another 10 years here.
well, and you know, him getting in that scenario might bring him down itself, you know, this kind of giving up, if depending, you know,
Well,
it could go either way, kind of in a way.
he does well when I'm around. He likes family around, but he does much better usually with me than my mom. I have been the person he looks forward to seeing when he's been in the hospital and in rehabs. Partly it's I'm a daddy's girl. I also know how to talk to him and have that expertise in working. And because I know my father so well, when I work with a patient, I adjust how I talk to them based on their personality.
Mhm.
I'll ask them what they did for a living, which sometimes I can guess. I look at the person and how can I best help them for who they are. So that feels good, but it's more about my connection with my dad.
Well, it'd be interesting to
And
see how how it changes possibly for your mom, being that she's not necessarily going to be there 24/7 with them, you know, and see
it's
if
gonna,
that's going to improve her to him, you know.
there's a lot of unknown.
Yeah, no, that's
There's a lot of different ways this can go.
Yeah.
And intention, you got to hold me to this, is to write about it or use my phone to record this process because there's a lot of unknown. And yet for my mom, there's like possibility of a life again.
Yeah.
She likes the idea of Salisbury being a small town. They used to live outside of Newberry, South Carolina. She enjoyed, telling her about all the culture that happens here, the music in the park and plays. She likes that kind of stuff and hasn't been able to do that very infrequently.
Mhm.
We've done a few things with her, and she's realized she's had to have a caregiver to take my dad to him or have a caregiver with him. Stuff they used to do together a lot.
And this town has is a more senior population too, which would be good for, it's still kind of the age, I
Wow.
think, for Salisbury.
I
So
don't
it'd be
know
good.
statistics of that.
I'm just being kind of general, but I mean, because
It's more that it's small, it's easier driving than Charlotte. Yes, she's gonna have to find some new doctors, or, that's gonna be the juggling and the challenge. Yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to hang out with my mom and it not being all about caring for my dad. I went over there. I don't know, we had a phone call not too long ago where my dad was asleep, so she could talk easily with me. She's like, "Have you got a job? I didn't know that," and it's like, well, because every time we're together,
it's all about
it
dad.
is, and how can we best help them? So I'm looking forward to being able to. I said to my mom, because she's like, I really need my massages, and do they have a Hand and Stone up there? Because that's where she's been going. I said, we'll find a place, Mom. Maybe they do a mother-daughter special, and we can go together.
Yeah. Well, and she's gonna have a chance to really kind of get to know our kids better too, I think.
Yeah, to kind of give her life back. She's 80, but I want her to be that vibrant 80 that she was, at 70 and 75, that being able to do what she wants and enjoying this time in her life, because she's taking good care of her health, yet caring for someone, it has an effect on us. And, we talked today with someone who talks about family caregivers, and people don't realize they're a caregiver when they're a parent or
Yeah.
helping their parent out. Kid with special need is extra involved versus just the typical parent with a typical kid. I don't know that really exists.
Neurotypical.
I don't know if that exists.
Yeah.
And they don't think about it that way, right? So then you're not thinking about that. You're just doing, like, she's been married for almost 59 years. She cares for her husband, for better or for worse, in sickness and health. This is what she has to do, and she always, she knows I'm busy, and, I step in to help all the time, and she doesn't expect it of me, or, she appreciates it. And
They've always been really good.
and yet she knows, I wish she would ask for help more often.
Yeah.
And she's trying to just live day to day, and I'm hopeful for her that she feels overwhelmed now by all the decisions she's got to make, and looking at, selling your house, and and that me and my brother and other people can step in and support her and be like, okay, I'll take care of this. That's why I was trying to handle some of these conversations, and then just going to her and saying, okay, this is the step you need to take now, and being that go-between to just simplify it for her. And yet in that process, like, I came to you and said, what I need right now is some emotional support, because what is that?
Mine, no.
Are you giving me your brain? Because I don't want your brain. It would be very fascinating to have the experience of your brain for a while. And I think mine's the messy brain. You're very linear with your thinking. My brain is like.
So what would you say and I don't know if the secret is right, but what's the secret about making it through your day? When, our life is kind of not chaotic, but just very rapid pace, I'd say.
For me,
yeah,
what gets me through: music to suit my mood. Therefore, headphones, because my family's not always fond of my loud music that I like. And turning everything into song. My dad did that a couple times yesterday. I'm like, that's where I get it. Chai tea gets me through. Our foundation of our marriage.
Oh.
And all the work we put into before we had kids, when we didn't know what we were getting into. When it was,
would we have ran? We did.
Easy, and we had no freaking clue. Remember how I used to get so crazed out about my appearance and how the things I wore and the things I stressed over when I was in my 20s. And
Our first year of marriage was a little, it was a kind of rough, because we,
was,
yeah, we not
don't
argued a
remember.
lot, but because you blocked it out. Oh, but- No, because remember that's what we were working on, the communication and,
it was intense,
yeah, that's it.
but that's me.
That's we didn't have a house, we lived in tents.
I am an intense person. Ask my children, I overwhelm them. Too many questions, Mom, too much
Yeah,
information.
well, yeah, that's probably a good way to put it, intense.
And that just felt normal to me.
Um,
But looking back on that, right, things are.
But we
so,
set a foundation that was,
right, this was about what has helped me to get through the day. So that was one of the things.
Yeah.
It's our foundation. And the difficult first year of marriage that you experienced that I did not. And time with my family. The relationship we have fostered with each other and with our kids means more to me than almost anything. And I am so grateful for the time that we put in, even though it meant some financial hardship, because I didn't work full time and you didn't, we didn't always have the money to do the things we wanted to do.
yeah,
And even for our kids sometimes yet. And things were really crazy in our life for a while that it just, sitting down to have dinner
wow,
turned
is an
into.
understatement, actually.
But now, we've gone through all that. And even though there can be other difficult things that come along, knowing we can get through it, something about seeing your children through adulthood, especially to their mid-20s. And like I'm proud of him because he's got this job and he's successful, yet it's because he's doing something he likes. And when he has days off, he plays just as hard as he works. He goes to the mountains. He does what he wants to do. He follows his interests. And I just, seeing his life and how he lives it is a testament to me of why we parented the way we did, why I chose to homeschool the way we did. And, even our.
Well, I was going to say it's not just, I mean, his example is big, but even our middle child,
Oh, yeah.
she's following her path. She had a rougher, with the OCD, so she handles it differently, but yet she
jumps in, she jumped in and moved down the road. She was 19 years old, and then
yeah, I know.
it's like, okay, moving back home, and she found work, and she's
And she's going to the zoo to volunteer. So she's
the same way about her, and once they get in their 20s, there's a different relationship and a little bit angst.
well,
I counted, what did I count? Because my kids are 11 years apart, I'm spending 18 years raising teenagers. And, people talk about, oh, teenagers are hard. I enjoy the challenges of teenage years, and yet it's beautiful to see it through to the 20s. If I feel like because I've embraced their teenage years and not put something onto it that I didn't like about it, that I see now, we come through the other side.
Well, you go through, I think, a little bit of, I don't know how to, they kind of look at you like you don't really know what you're doing, or, and then when our oldest now starting to realize dad isn't as
Dad, can you
dumb as he looks or whatever. I know that's a kind of a crude way to put it, but I mean, they start to recognize that we aren't,
but I don't know that they ever felt that way. They challenged and questioned us and got irritated.
They doubted. Had some doubts about what we said or do, whatever.
Which is
healthy. Yeah, no, you want them to question that.
And important. I've realized we've gone way off topic.
Yeah, we have. So
and yet it's all on topic because we're in the middle.
Part of the day.
We're in the middle of this. We are navigating. We're still parents. We still are parents of our 26-year-old, our 22-year-old, our 15-year-old, and it looks different at different stages.
Well, this journey you went through today was infiltrated with kids doing this and saying this and asking for this and going through this, right before you did this.
That's outside of just going to work as an OT. I mean, the juggling, I created notebooks. I had a notebook for my job searching because the facilities of my job searching are very similar, and some of them are the same as the facilities I'm looking at for my parents, and having to keep things straight and organize and write things down, and just having these skills to and yeah, I mean the flexibility, and that's, you know, for me working part-time PRN, you know, I can't imagine doing this with full-time work, but there's, you know, the person with full-time work can't imagine doing it my way, and there are other ways to negotiate that, and obviously it would look different. And yet, whatever your life situation is, you know, it's having that support. Like I started to say to you before you did this weird mind thing with your brain, that I let you know that I needed emotional support right now. I don't need you to fix or solve or remind me what I need to do. I need like, oh wow, how's that been? It's a lot. It's a lot, you know, when, you know, my dad gets really emotional, and some days he just doesn't want to live in this world. He says some tough things that I get, and yet it's a lot. And just realizing my parents aren't going to be here forever. And, you know, I think that's something that's hard to fully get until something, well, or something happens, you know, when he was in the hospital and he got pneumonia the last time, I was like, is he going to get through this?
Well, you know, what I kind of went through, it was a weird feeling when my dad passed away when I was 17, so he's been gone for quite a long time. But when my mom passed in 2006, I think it was, and
Yeah.
it was a really weird feeling. Because I tell people I feel like I'm an orphan now, you know. But the weird part about it was, I think as human beings, we have this thing in our when our parents are around, we have that as fallback. No matter what happens, you could, as much as you may not want to, you can always fall back and move back to your parents or whatever, or you can always go home. That's a good way to. And that was gone. And that was
They
really
sold your
weird.
childhood house that you
Yeah,
lived in your entire.
everything. You know, I have brothers and sisters. I can fall back on them, but even that's even happened.
They're getting older.
Yeah.
And
So
they're older
it's
than Don, and they've
it's
got
a
their own health issues.
kind of a lonely feeling in a way. Not that I don't have you and the kids to fall back
Yeah.
on, but just, yeah, it's a weird feeling. I remember it. And
Like you became that generation, like when you grew up
oh,
with
yeah,
your aunts and uncles, you are now.
now I'm the old folks.
Yeah. And yet at 65, you know, I had a patient where I work. He's in his 70s, and his dad came in to visit him. His dad is in his mid to late 90s, you know. And so, you know, there are people your age and older who still have parents, and yet there are lots of people who don't, right? It's such a and yeah, we each have different experiences with that, in part based on our relationships we've had with them. And, you know, and I'm hoping, you know, my mom and I can even connect even more, you know, and have some fun together. And yeah, I don't know what the roller coaster ride is gonna look like with my dad. I have the fortunate of knowing what Parkinson's looks like from the day he was diagnosed, having that personal experience. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping other people, because I feel like I can help you know what questions to ask. I can help you understand these things that for me it's just been inherent in me. And yet, even though I so much value other people's input, when my dad's had to have therapy, you know, because I know it's hard to make those decisions as the daughter, just like with our kids, you know, with their issues. Yeah, I'm also an occupational therapist, but I need the support and input from others too, because it's hard to be objective.
Well, it was like that story that the lady we talked to today, she told us, if you don't know the right questions, it could affect the outcome. You know, and in her case, she didn't know the right questions asked, so they didn't think about rehab for her husband, who was going through a lot. And so she got home with her husband and had to deal with somebody it was hard to handle.
Well, there were stairs,
Yeah.
just as simple as
Walk.
not being able to get upstairs. And that's one of the first questions I ask when I
Yeah.
assess a patient is, where do you live? Do you have steps to get into your house? Do you have steps once you're inside? Where's your bathroom? Is it
Yeah.
accessible?
Well, then ask,
Basic
being
life
able
accessibility.
ask the
things.
right questions at a hospital or a facility
Well,
about
it's
that.
happened.
Yeah, and you
It's
have,
like yesterday, I was, mom, I had this plan that we are gonna get my dad settled and then mom could breathe and go, okay, these are my different options, right? And we realized yesterday that, okay, we need to make a quick decision. And my go-to was, let's get Darren on the phone because he can help us do that rational. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, my brother's on vacation. He's somewhere between Ecuador and the Galapagos Islands, literally. And I was able to reach him by text, but last night I'm like, okay, Gina, you got to pull this together. And so let's do this. And so I speak with my mom. I'm like, okay, you want to wind up in Salisbury, right? That's the given. What is it that really matters to you in living? And she's like, I got to have a pool. And I'm like, okay, these other places don't have a pool. And then she really wants a community like she has. And I'm like, okay, this is your best bet for that kind of community. And she's getting support from other family members who are saying, well, check out all these other facilities and make sure you compare. And it's like, for her, the location matters most. And this is actually a really highly rated facility.
Mhm.
And it's 5 minutes from my house.
not even.
And,
Yeah, that's it.
and it's 10 minutes
Wow.
from the place my dad can be. And right now there's no memory care bed available for him, but that is something in the future, if it serves his interest, to get moved, we can. And it actually turned out to be much nicer than I thought it was going to be when I went inside today and toured it for the job. So yeah, I had to kind of go through that. Okay, what matters most here? What is it you want, mom? Okay, if we put this money down, you can get half of it back. And it's relative, it's a very small amount of money considering the larger investments she'll be making. And realizing that right now there are waiting lists, no matter where you are. I'm sure it's heavier in certain areas of the country, depending on what's available, but it tends to be when there are more people. Well, the baby boomers, right? You're kind of just beyond, your siblings are baby boomers, right? My aunts and uncles are, but my parents were sort of
I think I'm really still at the right at the tail end of it. I'm still in it, but yeah.
So the woman we talked to today, and that will be coming up in a future podcast, the near future, talked about the statistics of the amount of baby boomers that are reaching,
80,000 or
and
something like
the population to support and help them is so much less
that. Mhm.
that the resources, how are they going to be in place? That you have this large amount of population that is in the age range where they often need help and assistance and different levels of care. And unlike prior generations where they had 2 and 3 kids so that there are plenty more people to support and help, it's going to take a reverse
Yeah.
turn. And I had another thought, and now all I can think is Don circling his finger. So this is the reality of juggling all of this, and I several times I did curl and lay hammock earlier in between some things today. I came back after some interviews and meetups, and we had to go on a call at 2, and I'm like, I just need to play a game and be alone for half an hour. And of course my daughter came down and asked me some questions, and I did some emailing, and I was so ready to just curl up and take a nap. And I do that sometimes, and sometimes that's what we need, right? So it's finding a balance and not judging ourselves, not going, oh, I should have, like today, it's like I should have just drove over to the facility. If she wasn't there, whatever, then that would be done, and it wouldn't be now on my Friday.
Yeah.
But what does that serve me to sit here?
Yeah.
It's like with us with moving, and it's, the funniest thing about all this is we were so close to moving to Gaston County. We put offers on 4 houses. We had 1 under contract, and all of a sudden we wound up in Salisbury. Our daughter now has robotics team about a half hour away.
Yeah, but
We're now closer to where my sister lives, and closer to my brother in Pennsylvania. We've got these great communities. I think my mom's gonna like the town. It's like, wow, it's all working out perfectly.
that could be a whole nother podcast about following the flow,
Well, yeah,
and letting go and stuff. 'Cause
beat myself up, and when I have struggled and challenged, yet knowing this too shall pass.
Well, and think about if we would have moved to Gastonia, we kind of, part of the reason was it was getting closer to her robotics, and that's falling apart.
And
And
to
so,
our parents.
yeah.
And yet we were all like, the traffic, even though it's miles wise is closer to Charlotte than Salisbury is, yet it can take just as long
Yeah.
to get there. And
Yep.
so there was this resistance going on in us of not really wanting to move out that way. And it was sort of closer to my parents, but not any closer than we used to live. It wasn't ideal. And so we got to just give ourselves a break and
Go with the flow.
and
kind of.
realize wherever we're at in this process that we can move forward. We can still take steps and make new choices, no matter decisions we've made, and that it's a matter of realizing that this will pass. It's like having kids 11 years apart. I know they're not going to be teenage forever. You know, when our youngest was little, I knew she wasn't going to be a toddler forever. Everything is always changing. That's the only thing that's consistent, is that things will keep changing.
Yeah.
And so become part of our community. Find us on Ask the OT. Don, when are we doing another?
We're doing one June 3rd at 7:00.
And we're going to be coming live to
Oh,
you
from
from the mountains of
West Virginia.
Virginia, not West
Oh,
Virginia.
not that far up. No,
We're getting a vacation by ourselves, which we haven't done in 16 years, to celebrate 30 years. And so reach out to us. Let us know your questions on navigating this journey. I am in the process of putting together what will be at least a pamphlet booklet about the questions to ask when you're, specifically for the first booklet is going to be when your loved one's in the hospital, and what questions you need to ask while they're there. And then in the next stages of things, because that's when you think someone's healthy and then all of a sudden they're in the hospital and, oh my gosh, now we got all these decisions. And oh, you go
and
in there
sometimes very quickly have to
and you
make
go
that-
in their house and like, oh my God, they wouldn't let me in, and now I see why. And now, now I'm seeing signs of their decline. So reach out, connect with us, follow us on Facebook, find us on Instagram as we grow our Instagram page up again.
Check out our Tuesday tips, which is we do by email, but we also on Tuesdays we have a short podcast that we do that gives tips for parents.
And we give tips for parents and also looking at the caregiving aspect of it. And our YouTube, if you're listening to this where you listen to podcasts, you can also watch us and see our crazy antics on YouTube, as well as other YouTube videos that we're putting out on our channel.
That we're trying to do shorts, as they call them. And remember, how you speak to your children and your family
Today. How you speak to your children today shapes their future, and it shapes yours as they become the person taking care of you, which could be as soon as today. So from this 54-year-old and this 65-year-old who are sandwiching this life, please join us again.
Thank you.